Hi there and welcome to a budget video about cEDH staples, cards that are played in a huge variety of different cEDH competitive commander decks. The criteria for a card to be part of this video is that it costs below €4 or $4 to $5 and that it's played in several different decks. It's a cEDH staple, not singly played in only one type of deck, but played in a lot of different variations of decks. Sol Ring is a really good example. It costs about nothing and probably you already own it, and it's played in, let's say, every single EDH deck out there. But let's continue, let's not talk too much about Sol Ring. So I have 20 cards to show you, and let's start with this thing, Protean Hulk. This might shock you, because it's supposed to be quite expensive, right? When it got unbanned, it rised in price quite high. But then something happened. Look down here, it got reprinted, and now the price dropped significantly. This means that you can get a hold of a Protean Hulk quite cheap, below a couple of dollars. Maybe just $2 you could get one. And let's also add in that Flash has also been reprinted and doesn't really cost that much. This means that you can put together the Flash Hulk combo on a really good budget. We're not going to go over all of them, but the rest combo cards inside the Flash Hulk package aren't that expensive. I'm just gonna let you know that. So here we have Arcane the Nine, a really good counterspell that will cantrip. However, there is a downside to it, that your opponent draws 2 cards. But I'm gonna say that that is actually worth it. Arcane the Nine is played in a lot of different decks and it doesn't cost anything. I guess we're still on the topic of counterspells, so here we have Mental Misstep, a Phyrexian 1 blue mana to counter target spell with converted mana cost of 1. That is really good. Inside cEDH, there's a lot of cards that are costing only 1 mana, like Sol Ring. There's a lot more cards like Sol Ring that you're gonna see later, so Mental Misstep has a lot of targets, and the fact that you don't need to pay mana for it makes it almost broken. And why is this card actually cheap, considering it is so good that Legacy should play it? The answer is, it's banned in Legacy. So here is a card that actually costs only 1 mana, which means that Mental Misstep could counterspell it. So this is Crop Rotation, a really good green card that in instant speed you can sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, put a card into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Normally, you use this to fetch your Gaia's Cradle. That is actually really expensive. But you can also fetch a lot of different kinds of land, like this thing, Bojuka Bog. This means that you can fetch a Bojuka Bog in instant speed and then exile a graveyard in instant speed. And that is actually really good. This means that Crop Rotation becomes a multi-purpose function card. You can do a lot of different things with your Crop Rotation. So here we have Gitaxian Probe, 1 blue Phyrexian mana. Look at target player's hand, then draw a card. So this is actually just pay 2 life, draw a card. This card sees play in maybe every single Storm deck that has Identity color of blue, because it's only 1 pay 2 life and then draw a card, and that's really powerful. That's exactly what Storm wants to do. Build a Storm count, put cards inside your graveyard, and then continually bursting out gas. But in the end, Gitaxian Probe makes your 99 become a 98, and that is actually quite good. Dark Ritual, 1 black mana to add 3 black mana to your mana pool, and that is really powerful. This card has been powerful throughout the history of Magic, and it's even powerful inside EDH, because in cEDH you want to do really expensive things really fast. You want to cheat out really expensive cards through some gimmicky way, and Dark Ritual is a way to cast things that are a little bit more expensive than the turn count you're on. And because of that, Swords of Plowshares is really powerful and is played in a lot of different decks. I might also say that Path to Exile is on the curve here too, because 1 white mana exile target creature card is controlled against life equal to its power. That doesn't matter one bit. This is 1 white mana, remove a creature card from the game. That is good. This means that on the turn 1, you can interrupt a combo that involves a really expensive creature someone is reanimating. And that means that Swords of Plowshare is almost played every single time you play white. Utopia Sprawl. This card is really good. You enchant a forest with it. As Utopia Sprawl comes into play, choose a color. Whenever Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 mana of the chosen color to his or her mana pool. This card is even played inside mono green decks. This card is played inside Yisam, for example. It gives you color fixing and ramp during your first turn. Aven Mind Sensor, a really powerful hate bear for white. 3 mana, flash and flying, 2/1 creature card. If an opponent would search a library, that player searches the top 4 cards of that library instead. This is denying search. Searching your library is something that is done frequently inside cEDH, and I would say it's done frequently inside normal casual EDH as well. So therefore, this card is really powerful and considered play inside a lot of different decks. Also, consider the fact that you don't shut down yourself. Like normal stacks card like Torpor Orb shut down all ETB effects of creature cards, including your own. But Aven Mind Sensor doesn't disrupt yourself. This means that Aven Mind Sensor is a card that is played frequently inside a lot of different white decks. Grand Abolisher, a really good white hate bear again. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures or enchantments, and that is really good. This means that you put this card in play and then you try to win without anyone is able to interrupt you. They first have to spot remove this thing with a counterspell, and if they can't do that, you're going to win. And if they use a counterspell on this thing, then maybe they don't have a secondary counterspell for your combo. Life and Death. So this is a budget version of Reanimation. You usually only use this thing, but I have seen decks that are actually playing Life. All lands becomes creature cards that are 1/1, this turn only, and they are still lands. And what you do with that is that you start sacrificing your creature cards for mana or something else. But in any case, normally you use this thing. 2 mana, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose life equal its converted mana cost. So sure, this is worse compared to Reanimation that is only 1 black mana, but still, normally you play both Reanimation and Life and Death. So this is actually a card that sees a lot of play during Reanimation decks. Scavenging Ooze. So reanimating things from your graveyard or casting spells from your graveyard, like from Yawgmoth's Will or Past in Flames, is really popular and quite common. Therefore, Scavenging Ooze is actually quite good, a really good green hate bear that exile cards from a graveyard and get +1/+1 counter on it, and you gain life whenever you exile a creature card. Now, I might actually include saying that sometimes you end up winning the game with a Scavenging Ooze that becomes a little bit too big. So, in the end, this is a really good green card. Priestess of Titania. So there's a lot of different variations of elves deck out there, and whenever you play elves, you also play Priestess of Titania. And since this card has been reprinted a couple of times, it doesn't cost that much. And normally you tap this for maybe 3 mana or so, but eventually we'll start tapping her for maybe 5 mana. And that is where things are starting to get a little bit out of hand. So in the end, Priestess of Titania is a really good card and sees a lot of play whenever you're going for an elf team. Snuff Out. If you control a swamp, you may pay for life instead of paying Snuff Out's mana cost. And what it does is destroy target non-black creature, it can't be regenerated. And the part where you don't pay mana for it is where it's really good. You should consider that it's about 2 Phyrexian black mana. So you can destroy something in instant speed by only paying 4 life. And when you have 40 life count at the start of the game, you have a lot of life to use for this. Aether Flux Reservoir. So this artifact created the possibility to play Storm. Alright, so we played Storm before this thing was printed, but now Storm became a little bit more possible. So this thing was printed in Kaladesh together with Paradox Engine. However, Paradox Engine isn't really a budget card, it's actually quite expensive. I think you pay something about 7 euros for it today, so it's definitely not part of this video. However, Aether Flux Reservoir is really cheap and you can get it for maybe $2 or €1. You can find it maybe lower than that if you're lucky. I guess we have to show you these 2 cards together. So Isochron Scepter was really expensive once, but it has been reprinted a couple of times and now it doesn't cost that much. And the Dramatic Reversal is a common card from Kaladesh and doesn't cost about anything. So it's really cheap to put this combo together. And the cards are really good. Dramatic Reversal is in fact almost similar to a Dark Ritual, and that means that it's actually quite good on itself. Not broken on itself, but still functional. And Isochron Scepter is also good without Dramatic Reversal, making it a really powerful card. And the combo you're looking at is really powerful, granting you unlimited amount of mana as long as you have artifacts or creature cards that tap for more than 3 mana together. Alright, we have only 2 cards left to look at. and these two cards are really cheap, definitely on a budget. And one thing more, I personally consider that these two cards, the two last cards, are probably the two best cards inside the entire cEDH format. So the second last card, number 2, is a card that I actually think might be equal in power level to the card of number 1. But in the general population, I think that this card is not the best card inside the entire cEDH format. So here we have Carpet of Flowers. 1 green mana enchantment. During your main phase, you may add up to X mana of any color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. Now actually, this card has been changed a little bit, and it has an oracle text, and we need to look at it to really understand the card. So, at the oracle text, at the beginning of each of your main phase, if you haven't added mana to your mana pool with this ability this turn, you may add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. Now that actually means that you can play this card in your first main phase at your first turn for only 1 green mana. Then go to your second main phase and add 1 green mana, because let's say one opponent has had his turn before you and put an island in play, and that means that you're gaining a green mana from this the turn you're casting it. But also due to the fact that islands are really common inside cEDH, because counterspells are really powerful. That means that you're going to run into opponents that are ending up putting maybe 3 islands in play during a game. This means that for 1 green mana, this thing will produce 3 mana of any color you want each turn. That is really powerful. That is a lot better than Sol Ring, and it's a lot better than Birds of Paradise. This card is maybe something you auto-includedly must have inside every single green deck you're putting together. But you haven't seen nothing yet. This card is probably, in the general opinion, the best card inside the entire cEDH format. It doesn't see play anywhere else but here, and therefore it doesn't cost anything. For only 1 blue mana enchantment, cumulative upkeep of 1, whenever target opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. That player may now pay 4 mana to counter this effect. Now again, this card has also an oracle text that say the following: whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. So forget all about that. Whenever target opponent, it actually affects all opponent. That means that the more opponents you have, the more higher chance of drawing a card whenever they play a Brainstorm, Ponder, Serum Vision, anything, Demonic Ritual, Dark Ritual, Demonic Tutor, Dark something, whatever, Instant Sorcery Speed, whatever. You're going to draw a card each time they do this, because no one is going to pay 4 mana. I have seen situation when this became 1 blue mana, draw 3 cards. Discard cards skipped out because you're drawing the cards during your opponent's turn. That means turn 1, you're putting this in play and passing turn with 6 cards in hand, and then suddenly you draw 3 cards during your opponent's turn and end up with 10 cards during the start of your turn. That is really powerful. And whenever you're casting Mystical Rumor, the start of your turn, the first turn, you're bound to have a really good game. If not, your opponents are doing nothing, and that is basically a tax and stacks effect. You're shutting down the game and creating a standstill, and that isn't bad either, because if you have nothing better to do, just keep on paying the upkeep cost and make sure that this one stays alive, and make sure no one is doing anything but putting mana dogs in play. Now this video could probably go on forever. There's a lot of cards in cEDH that are really cheap and are really heavy staples. But in any case, I showed you a couple of ones that are really common, and definitely I showed you the ones that are really powerful. And I would like to make the statement that you can get a hold of a really good cEDH deck without spending that much money, because most of the cards that are really powerful are really cheap and doesn't cost that much. And in the future, cards are going to go down in price over time more and more, because like we looked at the start of this video, the Protean Hulk did cost once a lot of money due to the fact that it was really popular and didn't see a reprint, but now suddenly it got a reprint, and that meant it dropped in price, and that meant that it's actually easy and on a budget to get a hold of. And we're going to see more cEDH cards that are achieving this condition, and hopefully cEDH won't be that expensive. Now thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care and leave a comment if you liked the video.